A little while back, I got a 3D printer and I started making some content about 3D printing. If you missed that, I'll put a link to my 3D printing playlist in the end cards at the end of the video. You know, the little thing that pops up over the end of the video? I got a whole playlist about selecting a 3D printer, which one I went to, setting it up, but that's not what we're here to talk about today. Today, I did something for the very first time with 3D printing, and I want to share it with you. I made this. If I made it, then why does it have the name Nachos? This is Nacho FPV. He's an FPV pilot and a 3D designer, I guess. He made this. He made this GoPro holder. And I downloaded it from Thingiverse. And here's the thing I didn't like about it. This is a universal GoPro holder, and it has a flat base, and it straps onto the bottom of the quad with a battery strap. Oh, that's time to retire that battery strap. But I didn't want one that straps onto the bottom of the quad with a battery strap. I wanted one that has a screw-on base for the iFlight Sedora that I have been flying. So I did a thing called remixing. You see, I don't have the skills to design. I've been getting into CAD designing just a little bit, but I don't have the skills to design something like this. But what I can do is download an existing GoPro holder for the Sedora. They didn't have one for the GoPro 7 though. This was for a session. And basically in software, I sliced off the base of that one and jammed it together with this one, and I got this. Remixing is taking two 3D prints and taking parts of one and combining them with parts of another. And that is what we're going to look at today. I'm Joshua Bardwell, and you're going to learn something today. If you, like me, are pretty much a total noob to 3D printing and you're just kind of following along, you're going to learn something today. But if you're like a 3D printing expert and you already know about how to use Meshmixer, you're not going to learn anything. In order to understand why remixing is even a thing, let's lay out the steps between creating a 3D model and printing the model and making a physical object out of it. And usually a 3D model is going to be created in a solid modeling program. Like right here, we're looking at Fusion 360. So you create this project, but you don't print directly from this project. You export this project to what's called, typically it would be an STL file. And an STL file is a mesh. It is a surface. You know, to be honest with you, I'm trying to spit facts, but I actually, what's the difference between what we're looking at here and the STL file, the mesh? And then the 3D printer takes the mesh file, the STL file, and it converts that into G code. And the G code is what tells the printer how to actually print the file. So the STL file, the mesh file, is this intermediary step between the CAD project and the G code that actually prints. And the reason that's important is because very, very few people give you their actual CAD projects. What you get when you go to a website like Thingiverse is the STL file. Now, once we have the STL file, we can go into our slicer. I'm using Cura, and we can open up that file. And sure enough, here is all the information that the slicer needs to print that file. But what if you don't like that file? What if you want to change something about it? There's very little that you can do in your slicer to manipulate and modify that file. For example, I could click on it and I can scale it. I can scale it up and down, right? Very, very simple stuff, but I can't really manipulate it. That is where Meshmixer comes in. Meshmixer is a program for manipulating the mesh file, the STL file, directly. This mesh file, let's take a look at it. Here's the STL file imported into Meshmixer, and at first it looks an awful lot like Cura. But Meshmixer is actually going to let us interact with and manipulate the mesh itself. So for example, if I choose the selection tool and I hover over it, you can see I'm actually selecting the individual polygons, triangles, that make up the mesh. This is the internal structure of the mesh. You just see a flat rectangle here, but internally in the STL file, it's made up of these triangles. And in fact, if we zoom into a more complicated part, you'll see the triangles get smaller. This right here is a Hero Session mount for an iFlight Sedora. And I have a Hero Session, but that's actually not what I want to put on the quad today. I want to put a Hero 7. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to slice off the base of this mount, and then I'm going to stick it together with the other mount. And here's how I'm going to do that. I'm going to click the Edit tool, and I'm going to choose the Plane Cut tool. And what that's going to do is that's going to create a plane in the work surface, and everything on one side of the plane is going to be kept, and everything on the other side of the plane is going to be thrown out. So here we're throwing out the bottom of the mount. And this control here lets me move the plane around. So for example, I'm going to click this rotate, and I'm going to rotate the plane all the way around so it's facing the bottom of the mount. And then I'm going to drag it this direction. And by right-clicking the mouse, I can rotate. And I'm just going to carefully drag it till it just slices off the top as perfectly as I can get it. The angle looks just about right. Let's check this angle. No, hang on. It's really close. There we go. So I can see right there, I've sliced off just the top, completely flat, and it looks pretty even and lined up right. Looks really good. I'm just going to hit accept, and then that's going to leave me with just the base. So now we've got the base separate, and we've got these two little ears to cut off, and you could just try to select them and delete them individually. But as you can see, as I select, I'm selecting individual triangles. I can't just, this is where working in like Fusion 360 or SolidWorks would be really superior, because you could just manipulate the underlying object. By the time you're working with the mesh, you're almost like molding clay in the computer, and it can be really fiddly to get the exact results you want. So let me see if I can do this with a plane cut again. Okay, and accept. That's pretty good, I think. Kind of made this edge sharp, but okay, it's all right. We'll be all right. All right, so now we've got the base. But in messing with the mesh, we may have screwed up see, the mesh has to be a closed surface. It can't have any sort of gaps or holes in it leading to the interior of the object. The 3D printing software, the slicing software won't know what to do with that. So I think the last thing we need to do is we need to do make solid. And that will sort of make this into a solid object that can be printed and fix any potential problems that we've introduced in our screwing around. And when I do make solid, do you see how it's gotten all kind of craggy looking? So I'm not sure how to fix that. Like, you can turn the solid accuracy way up and the mesh density way up, but then the file size gets enormous and the slicer just barfs on it. So I'm just going to do make solid, and here we go. We've got our base. Perfect. So then we're going to import the nacho. Yes. And we're going to try and smack these two things together. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pick the nacho GoPro mount, and I'm going to choose edit, transform, and that lets me move it. I don't know why transform, I don't know. But that lets me move it around, and I can use this same interface to kind of rotate it. All right, so I'm going to try and get this lined up. And like I said earlier, if I was working in SolidWorks or Fusion 360, I could just snap these items together, and they would just click together and be perfectly parallel. Here, we're almost like we're just manipulating real objects, and we just need to kind of get it right. Oh, okay, so there's pretty parallel, but now, now I got to rotate it this way to try and get it parallel on this axis. That's pretty close. And then we're gonna just start to bring it in. feel like I'm docking a spaceship. And we're going to bring it in, and they'll just begin to fuse together. Now I think I want to like move this forward just a little. Can I? I wonder if I could change this axis at all. That seems good. Okay, so now I'm going to watch this sort of blob in. Oh, hang on. That's backwards. This is the front, and this is the back. I got it turned around. Shoot. Darn it. There we go. Perfect. Now let's just bring that in. And we should see it intersect. Okay, great. Oh, I like that a lot. And what I did was I will bring it in and watch as it protrudes through the bottom. And I want it to have as much sort of, there we go. I want it to kind of spill together as much as they can. So I can see that the angle is not quite exactly perfect, but I don't think I'm going to get it any closer. So, there we go. There we go. There we go. We've made a new thing. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to choose the, over here in this object browser, I can turn these objects on and off. I'm going to take the solid base. I'm going to turn off the STL base. I'm not sure, because I'm not sure that we didn't screw up this STL a little bit when we were messing with it. So this fixed solid base and the STL that I didn't screw with, we're going to take both of those together, and we're going to do File, Export, and we're going to export it in STL ASCII format, which I believe is what Cura wants. And I actually already have this STL, and you can see, I'm so proud of this. I mean, I know that I did so many things wrong here. I know that this was a completely kludgy way to go about it, and then people who use Meshmixer on a daily basis probably are cringing at all the mistakes I made. But at the end of the day, I got a freaking GoPro holder over there that fits my quad, and that I'm so proud of. Okay, so we export that to an ASCII STL, and then we can go into Cura and open, and there it is. Now, we're not quite ready to print. We have the standard things that we need to do before we print. Like, for example, we need to put the correct side. We need to pick the face to align to the build plate. I'm going to align this bottom face. And for some reason, when I do that, it goes below the build plate. So we don't want that. So let's just put these coordinates back at 0. Can we just right-click Reset Coordinates? Will that work? Reset model position. Perfect. So now that's how I'm going to print it. And then I'm going to, I'm going to use supports, obviously. Let's just finish this off by showing how I actually printed it. So what I did was I chose to have supports everywhere because I put that face down because I want supports here to cover these overhangs here, right? Then I need supports here so that these will print correctly. Otherwise, they won't print correctly. If you had a machine where you were real flippin' confident in your ability to print overhangs without supports, somewhere out there's a machine that could print this with no supports at all, and this would that work? No, because this layer would fail because you could not put this filament down because you'd be printing in open air. But I think the best way to do it is relay that face flat. Reset position, please. There we go. We're going to generate supports everywhere, but I am going to put support blockers in the screw holes because I don't want supports in the screw holes. So this is the support blocker tool. And anywhere you put a support blocker, it will not put supports. Yeah. All right, so now I'm going to slice that. And let's take a look at the preview. There you go. I feel pretty confident that's the best way to print this. But there you go. That's how you're going to get it. And she's done. Thank you guys so much for coming along with me on this amazing journey. I know that it's a little different than the stuff I often do with quadcopters. I often speak with a voice of authority, and my goal is to educate. In this case, I am absolutely not an authority. I'm just going and doing exciting things and then being excited about it and wanting to share it with you. And I hope that somewhere out there, you're nodding along and going, oh, that is really cool. And at least a few of you are going to spend the next 3 weeks doing a deep dive into Meshmixer that you didn't even know it existed. And it's for you that I'm making this video. It's such a powerful tool, because it means that even though I can't I could never design this. I just couldn't. But I can download stuff that other people design, and I can chop it up and put it together to make something. And that's like, I feel like I only just now really started to get why 3D printing is such a big deal. But there's one more step we got to do, and that is we got to upload this to Thingiverse and share it with everybody else. In fact, in Thingiverse, there's an interface. I've never done this before, so I'm not going to show you how because I don't know, but I'm going to do it as soon as I get off the camera. You can say, I've got an object, I remixed it with another object, and you can upload it. You give full credit to the people who designed the objects, and then other people can benefit from it. And that's, you know, now 3D printing is like saving the world. Anyway, that's going to do it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know down in the comments what your thoughts are. Happy flying. Happy printing. Do you see this baby? Isn't he cute? Hit the subscribe button. Join my Patreon, use my affiliate links, or just keep watching videos. That's better than nothing.
Go, go, gaga, subscribe to my daddy.